how's it going everyone? It is Skullzi here with the latest and the greatest gaming news. We got some pretty crazy news yesterday involving ZeniMax and Bethesda being completely purchased by Microsoft. I broke down everything there was to know as of yesterday regarding this situation in a couple videos that I uploaded within the last day or so, and since then there hasn't really been any more huge updates or changes regarding any of this Bethesda and Microsoft purchase situation. However, yesterday we did get plenty of interesting statements from both Bethesda and Microsoft alike, and included in these statements we got some actual confirmed information regarding Starfield, as well as some other stuff which could lead to some pretty interesting speculation, including potential release dates and more. And today I want to talk about one of the confirmed pieces of information that comes straight from a statement by Bethesda regarding not only Starfield but also the Elder Scrolls 6, and this is actually something that several members of the community absolutely refused to believe over the last couple of years, despite all of the evidence myself and other content creators kept talking about and bringing up. And now, after all this time, it feels really amazing to be proven right, as Bethesda Game Studios will 100% be using a massively improved and basically new game engine for both Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6. And no, this doesn't come from a technology patent or a job listing or anything like that, but instead comes direct from Todd Howard himself. Yesterday, after this massive news about the Microsoft and Bethesda purchase situation dropped, both Todd Howard and Pete Hines issued fairly lengthy and heartfelt statements about what all of this would mean for the future of Bethesda. And like I covered in yesterday's videos, this only really means positive things for the future of Bethesda, and it is very unlikely that major Bethesda games in the future would be Xbox exclusive. But that is a topic for another video. Instead, today I want to highlight the statement made by Todd Howard right here. He says, "With each new console cycle, we evolved together with Microsoft, from bringing mods to consoles with Fallout 4, now with over 1 billion downloads, to the latest technologies fueling Xbox Series X and S. These new systems are optimized for the vast worlds we love to create, with generational leaps not just in graphics but CPU and data streaming as well. It's led to our largest engine overhaul since Oblivion, with all new technologies powering our first new IP in over 25 years, which is Starfield, and this new technology and engine will also be used in the Elder Scrolls 6 as well." There it is, right there. Literal proof that nobody can dispute now. Bethesda Game Studios underwent their largest engine overhaul since Oblivion, specifically for Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, and I long theorized that one of the main reasons it's taking Starfield so long to come out is because Bethesda was busy basically rebuilding the entire game engine from the ground up, and it turns out that's the case now. That's why it's been so long. There aren't development issues, there's being development leaps and bounds, and they're doing exactly what they needed to do to take the time to make this game amazing. And I know there will still be some people in the comments still hanging on to their opinion by saying something like, "It doesn't say new game engine, it just says new engine overhaul," but that isn't how the gaming industry works, and I'll explain. Gaming studios don't literally rebuild an entire new game engine from the ground up for each new console generation, and even beyond that, it's rare for a company to completely abandon a game engine they have been using for years to instead completely recreate a new one, down to like every individual line of code. Even from a programming perspective, that isn't really feasible, doesn't really make sense, and in most cases isn't really even possible, as a lot of this code is the same code that you might even see in other game engines. So with that in mind, when a studio such as Bethesda decides to vastly improve their engine and technology, they take the building blocks of their current game engine and completely overhaul it for next gen while still using, like I said, the building blocks and just basic main stuff. And even with that in mind, a game engine improved like this can still feel and look like a completely different engine from games used in a prior version of that engine. This has been a usual routine for like literally almost every gaming company out there for like 30 plus years now, so trying to bash Bethesda Game Studios for not completely building an entire new game engine from the ground up is both unreasonable and fairly ignorant. And I say all this not to defend Bethesda, but instead to just speak in terms of how reality works in the gaming industry. If you've been a long-time subscriber of my content, you know I definitely call out Bethesda when they deserve it, but at the same time I've always said it was pretty obvious that they were building a new game engine for Starfield. I found patents that seemed to indicate this, and even last year one of my inside sources at the time basically told me this was the case, which I then reported on in a video, but back then most people for some reason thought that it would be impossible for this to happen, for Bethesda Game Studios to massively overhaul and upgrade their game engine, but thanks to Todd, we now know that is 100% the case. A new game engine was basically built for Starfield and beyond. Pun totally intended there. And this actually makes perfect sense for many reasons, as the creation engine, even as of Fallout 76 and Fallout 4, still felt pretty outdated in many ways. From the UI to the inventory management to the animations and the endless bushes and grass clipping through literally everything, it was obvious their current version of the creation engine was reaching the end of its relevant life cycle, or maybe even a bit beyond that. And Starfield is rumored to have space flight and exploring places on foot and everything in between, so if Bethesda wanted Starfield to be a smooth and quality gameplay experience, massive improvements would have been needed for the creation engine, especially when you consider that vehicles in particular didn't really ever work well in the creation engine, and Starfield is most likely going to have vehicles. So yeah, engine improvements were not only a smart move, but literally essential on a technical level. In fact, I've even seen some talk amongst the community recently since this purchase announcement that perhaps the reason this Microsoft and Bethesda purchase thing even happened in the first place is because Bethesda went massively over budget making this new next-gen game engine for Starfield, and potentially could have even ran into some money issues as well, and that is what pushed Bethesda and ZeniMax to accept being purchased by Microsoft. Although I don't think that's the case. Bethesda makes plenty of money, trust me, they aren't hurting for cash, which is another reason why it's already been confirmed basically that their future games won't all be Microsoft exclusive. If Bethesda really needed the money because they were in dire straits, they wouldn't have had much negotiation room and would have basically had to accept less favorable terms in their purchase contract, most specifically and most likely accepting a full exclusivity deal for all of Bethesda's future games. But since Bethesda isn't really hurting for money, that didn't happen. This is more of a strategic partnership that stems more around the Microsoft Game Pass, so don't worry, most if not all future Bethesda games should still come out on the PlayStation, as well as Xbox, PC, and potentially whatever Nintendo ends up making for next gen if it can run these games. And another thing to keep in mind here is that Bethesda and Microsoft have always had a close and positive working relationship, as opposed to Sony, in which Bethesda has always had trouble working with Sony over the most basic things, so that's probably another reason why this partnership was naturally evolving and going to happen anyway. It's not indicative of like any confirmed exclusivity for all future Bethesda games, so don't worry, don't start spreading that rumor and going nuts quite yet. So all in all, despite all the naysayers and negative clickbaiters out there, like some of those websites and stuff, the situation seems like nothing but a good thing for the future of Bethesda and gaming as a whole. Imagine a Bethesda Game Studios game with a budget as huge as what Microsoft has to offer. The Elder Scrolls 6 could potentially be all of Tamriel with the size and depth that you'd expect from a single-player Elder Scrolls game. But that statement, of course, is just speculation. What isn't speculation no longer, though, is the fact that Bethesda Game Studios is indeed using a new next-gen game engine for Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, and that definitely has the hype, assuming even more direct control. That's going to finish up today's video, though. This video was brought to you by the following amazing people. If you want a future video shout-out like this, support the channel over on Ko-fi. And if you like the content, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss the latest gaming news as well. Links for more ways to follow the channel or join the community are down in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when Starfield gameplay could very well be shown for the first time at an Xbox event, if not the Game Awards. The Game Awards 2020 is our last best hope for Starfield stuff this year.
It just works.